and IELTS speaking. Now IELTS writing section again has 2 essays. Okay, first one is called task 1. Second one is called task 2. Now task 1 we call it's a descriptive essay. Descriptive essay. What you need to do is you get graph, charts, diagrams or maps. Okay? What you need to do is you need to describe them. How you need to describe? They say summarize. Okay? So they ask you to summarize by selecting and reporting the main features. Main features. And also you need to make comparisons where relevant. So in this essay, task 1 essay, your job is, okay, not just explain what you see, okay, not just explain everything what you see in the graph, charts or diagrams. Your job is to choose the main points, the critical points, and try to write them clearly, okay, in nice order, and also try to see some comparisons, okay, between different data or charts, graph that you see. So in this essay, the most important part is how to understand those charts, graphs, and also how to analyze them. So analytical skills is very important. It comes very handy in task 1. Okay, so in my class, what I do is I usually teach task 1 second. Okay, I start this one first usually. Okay, I spend little bit more time for task 2 and talk more details about the structure and those how to write this and that, and then we come to this one later on. So here I spend most of the time talking about how to understand the main ideas or the main features, comparisons, basically analytical techniques. Okay, and because this essay you have to write only 150 words. You have 20 minutes. So what you need to do is you have to present your information very clearly and precisely, okay, in a nice format. So this is all about writing task 1. Okay, so so again, for writing task 1, you need to follow, even though it's 150 words, it doesn't mean that you can write as you like. No, you have to, because it's a academic writing, so you need to follow the structure: introduction, body, and conclusion. Okay, so introduction, you need to paraphrase what the information given in the essay, the description, and then also you need to summarize the whole chart or charts into one sentence, which is we call thesis statement, the main idea. Okay, that one should come in introduction. Okay, and then you need to think how to organize, because unlike task 2, you do not need to have very specific amount of paragraphs. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, depends on how you organize. So it depends, the organization of the body paragraph depends on your outline. Okay, it depends on your outline. So that is why first you do the data, you do the analysis, and then you try to develop the outline, and you basically spend about 5 to 8 minutes for that. Okay, and then you just spend about 15 minutes or lesser than 15 minutes for writing. Usually what I advise for my students, okay, start task 2 first. Okay, and then complete task 2 within 30 minutes, not 40 minutes. Okay, because you can do it. Now, earlier we talked about TOEFL test, 300 words in 30 minutes. This one, only 250 for 30 minutes. So, you can do it. So, your target should be, you should complete this one within 30 minutes, and then you have 10 minutes more, so you can spend little bit more time in task 1. Because if you want to write, even though this is a short essay, if you want to write good task 1 essay, you have to spend little bit more time about analyzing and developing the outline. Otherwise, you cannot write nicely. Okay, so that is the important part of task 1. Okay. Okay, so task 2, task 2 is essay is again opinion essay, like independent essay in TOEFL. But there are some small differences, because the question types is little different in IELTS essay. Okay, so they sometimes ask you to show about agree, disagree, some like that. But sometimes they ask to what extent do you agree or disagree. Sometimes they ask discuss both views. Sometimes they give 2 questions and you need to respond. So therefore you need to understand the question type. Okay, that is also very important. Okay, but however, whatever the question you get, opinion essay, okay, you have to take one side. That means you need to give weightage to one side, even though they ask you to discuss both views. Okay, so of course you need to discuss in discuss both view essay, you need to discuss both sides of the opinion, but you have to clearly show the reader your opinion. That means how you do that? By giving more weightage. Okay, now even for this essay also you divide into 3 parts: introduction, body, and conclusion. Okay, so in body paragraph I want you to write 3 body paragraphs. Okay, now why you need to write 3 body paragraphs, even though this is a 250 essay, 250 words essay? One thing is, if you write 2 body paragraphs, you try to write so many unnecessary points, things here. In addition or something like that, you try to add certain things, and sometimes your examples is too long, or sometimes your explanation is irrelevant. Okay, so that is one problem. Second problem is, if you get discuss both view question. Okay, so if you write only 2 body paragraph, so one is agree and other one is disagree. Okay, so then what happens is, this is kind of 50-50 type of essay. So then the reader cannot understand your opinion clearly. But if you write 3 body paragraphs, what happens is, I think it's, let's take agree means plus and disagree means minus. So plus, plus, minus. That means agree, agree, and disagree. So then the reader can clearly understand, okay, this is your opinion. This is the weightage that you have given for your opinion. Okay, so that is why I advise students to write 3 body paragraphs. And also, when you write discuss both view type of essay, it's very important for you to use nice and appropriate transitions. Okay, so first reason, second reason, in contrast, or notwithstanding, or on the other hand, something like that, and then you try to give this one. And then another thing that you need to do in the conclusion, discuss both view essay, you have to what? You have to justify your opinion. You have to justify why you have taken this side in discuss both view essay. Okay, if you want to get a high score. So justification is important in this. But usually in TOEFL essay, they generally do not ask this kind of question. discuss both view type. Usually it's one-sided. So plus, plus, plus. But in TOEFL, IELTS, often we can see this type of discuss both views or to what extent type of question. Okay. So what is the most important part of writing is writing clearly, because now your essay, okay, read by people who you do not know. That's the difference between speaking and writing. Now when you speak, mostly you speak face to face, and you can see the person. You can see the gestures, postures, facial expressions, and so forth. So if there's something you cannot clear, you can always ask like that. But when it comes to writing, it always goes to the unknown audience. Okay, and therefore you need to use certain punctuations, and you need to write the clearly. So clarity of your writing need to maintain, especially in academic writing, because there are two types of readers. Okay, academic people who read academic books and papers, and also people who read non-academic or general reading. For the general reading, there's no structure. Because the purpose is different, because they read for fun. But for academic reading, people do not read for fun. Why they read? They read to find the most important information that they look for. So therefore, clarity of your writing is very important. Okay, so therefore, you need to understand this one. And also outline. So you should not start any of these essays, both in TOEFL and writing, without an outline. Don't think it takes a little bit more time, and so it's not important. No, it's your map. Now think about, you go out some place where you don't know without a map. What happens? You basically get lost, or you sometimes spend too much time, or sometimes you go round and round and round. But if you have a map, you first read and understand, and then you can, the direction is there, so you can write it clearly and easily and quickly. So what we do is, actually we spend again considerable amount of time teaching how to write, how to develop good outline for both task 2 and task 1. And then you have the map, then you can simply write. Okay, and also after you're familiar with task 1 and task 2, you can do the outline in the paper itself. You don't need to use a scratch paper to do the outline. So those are the simple modifications that you can do later on. All right. Okay, I think any questions about writing? Any questions? No? Okay. So okay, then let's move to the IELTS speaking section. Okay. Now TOEFL speaking section. The major difference between TOEFL speaking and IELTS speaking. So TOEFL, you speak to the microphone. You cannot see someone. So you can use certain techniques, okay, in order to cover yourself. But when it comes to IELTS speaking, you speak to a well-trained person, an examiner in front of you. So that person knows how to understand your weak points. Okay, how to understand your mistakes or get your mistakes out. So therefore you have to be prepared. And some students are kind of nervous to talk to person in front, so they are kind of comfortable to talk to microphone sometimes. Okay, so those like different things are there. So therefore in IELTS speaking, you talk, you interact with examiner face to face. So again, your not only your speaking skills, but also how your gestures, postures, facial expressions, how comfortable you speak, those things actually matters in IELTS speaking. Okay, but generally IELTS speaking is not that difficult because you don't have any time restriction. I mean, of course, you have to manage your time, but not like TOEFL. TOEFL, you have to control your time 45 seconds or 60 seconds, but in here you have little bit of flexibility because always examiner tell you when the time's up. Okay, so that's the basic difference. Now in IELTS speaking section there are 3 parts. Okay, part 1, part 2 and part 3. So each part they assess different types of skills. Okay, part 1 is kind of a oral interview. It's an interview. Okay, so here examiner asks questions relating to 3 different topics, and the questions are more surface driven. Surface driven means not too much detail or abstract, but you get different types of questions. Now think about when you go to whatever the interview, for example job interview, so they ask different questions. Okay, your education qualification, your history, and why do you want to join this company, and what your future, the goal, and what do you think you can do. So many different types of questions. So that is the nature of interview. So the questions are more surface driven. So in here also like that. So in part 1 your response should be clear and precise, but you have to use more explanatory nature response, not just yes or no. Okay, so this is very important. So you have to speak clearly and more explanatory nature. Okay, and the second part, now here examiner give you a task card. Okay, kind of a topic with some sub questions. So what you need to do is you get 1 minute to prepare, okay, and then you examiner say, okay, you have 1 to 2 minutes to respond. So that means you need to speak, meaning it's a speech. Okay, speech. So when it comes to a speech, it's a monologue. It's not a dialogue. So you try to give the total response, introduction, body, conclusion. So when you respond to part 2, you need to practice little bit of academic type of speaking. I recommend that. Okay, so you introduce. Okay, I would like to talk about, okay, important festival in my country. Okay, that is a New Year festival, something like that, or Bonodari festival or something like that. And then you give the details in the body. Okay, so in here you try to use these supportive questions. Now most of the students, I mean what I have experienced is what they do is in speaking part 2, they try to respond to the question one by one. Okay, they just read the question and then they try to respond. That is not good. Okay, so these questions are, you need to understand, these are supportive questions which help you to develop or construct your speech. Okay, the most important thing is you have to respond to the main question, main topic, by using these questions as supportive questions. Okay, so in part 2, since it's a speech, you should not use like question and answer approach. So it should be a monologue from the start to end. You need to speak in giving good introduction and then details in the body and simple conclusion. Again, like we discussed in the TOEFL section. So you need to do like that. And also here when you speak, you need to use little bit of techniques again, one technique I recommend you to do is use storytelling. Okay, so storytelling, like you know about stories, like when you listen to a story, you can see it has very nice approach, step by step. Okay, it links with one another. So this is something that you should use, storytelling type of style, and you should be a little bit more creative when it comes to part 2. Okay, so and then part 3. Anyone knows what is part 3? Any idea? Part 3 is part 1 is interview, and here examiner spend about 4 minutes to 5 minutes with you. In here you get about 3 minutes to 5 minutes roughly, okay, in your speech. So after the speech, examiner ask 1 or 2 questions, rounding of questions from you. You just need to respond to that, and then examiner will take your task card out and the paper and the pencil, and then examiner move to part 3. Now part 3 is what?
Discussion.
Very good. Yeah, it's a discussion. Very good. Now tell me, what is the difference between interview and discussion? What is the difference? What is the difference? What is the similarity? Discussion and interview. What's the? Tell me either similarity or difference.
Discussion is to show someone's opinion.
Very good. Very good. Yes. So, yes, the difference of interview and discussion is, interview is, as I told you, it's surface-driven questions. You do not need to explain or show your opinion, okay, and you just need to give a kind of precise response to the question, little bit more explanation, okay. And discussion question, on the other hand, you have to use your own insights, okay. So you need to show your opinion, okay, develop your argument and give reasons to support it. So this is very important. So now in discussion, the way that you respond also different, the vocabulary that you use, because the questions are more abstract, more abstract nature. That means, like, interview questions are like this, surface driven, many different types of questions. But in discussion, questions are like this, more deep. So the question basically comes in the topic that you have spoken, and the questions are more deep. So you, in here, discussion, you have to use little bit more logical approach to respond. Now you can see, even though IELTS tests you look very simple, it covers 3 different parts. So, and also, if you want to get a good score, okay, if you want to go above 6.57 or like that, you have to give 3 different kinds of responses, okay, not use the same way. And the way that you use the language, the topic development, those things really matters, okay. So how to improve IELTS speaking? How to improve IELTS speaking? You need to focus on 3 things. Okay. Number 1, you need to focus about your delivery. What do you mean delivery? What do you mean delivery? It's very familiar word. Okay. So I mean, I think every one of you have used delivery services like Yamato or Sagawa or something like that. So what they do, they try to, for example, you want to send something to your friend, like here. So then you call, so they come and pick the parcel and deliver to your friend. So in speaking section, delivery means it's a idea, your thought. You try to deliver your idea to the audience in front of you. Okay, so here delivery means how effectively you speak, meaning clarity, how clearly you speak, your pronunciation, your intonations, those things you need to focus. So one technique that you can do is continuously you record your response and listen to it. Try to understand your weak points. Okay, that's number one. And number two is language use. Okay, so how effectively you use the language, your grammar and vocabulary. So you need to again check. And part 3 or the third one, that is the most important. Okay, and that is the center of your speaking score. Okay, that is called topic development. Topic development means how effectively you respond to the question. Okay, your explanation. Okay, the coherence. Okay, and using good examples. Okay, those things, and how creatively you speak. Those things actually comes under topic development. So if you want to improve your speaking skills in both TOEFL and IELTS, you need to focus on these 3 things. So what we do in the class, we continuously measure your performances and then give continuous advices how to improve, because different students have different problems. Okay, one may be good at delivery, they can speak clearly, but topic development is weak. And some, on the other hand, topic development is good, but do not have adequate vocabulary. So we have to understand the unique problems of each student and then come up with something in order to improve their individual performances. Okay, so what we do is in each section we continuously measure their performances from the start, and then after a few weeks, and then after that, like that. Okay, so what I advise is every student, they should take 1 or 2 tests, okay, between the class, during the class. So then we can see whether their performance have improved or not. And also, even though they do not take, I personally do the test in the class. So then at least I can assess their performances. Okay, so this is how we use techniques. So what I want to tell at the end is, now both tests, now I have explained about writing section and speaking section in both TOEFL and IELTS briefly. Okay, so now you basically you understood. Now it's not just kind of general English, right? So it's something that you have to use and you have to learn certain techniques and continuously practice. It doesn't mean that you learn a technique today, tomorrow you can apply as it is. No. You have to practice and practice and practice. Okay, so that is very important in TOEFL and IELTS both tests. Okay, so